Okie dokie. Right. We got a new one for you today. So, I'm still full of hay fever, which is not great. So, you're going to get a bit of that. I do apologise. But I'm aware that there's no others in the UK at the moment, so I wanted to get this out there so that when people start receiving their FNCs later this week, there's kind of some reference UK related that people can look at. And I'm sure you saw the unboxing video I put up and the chrono test on the YouTube shorts. Want to go through the rifle in a little bit more detail. I haven't had a chance to really look at it this weekend. It's been a really busy weekend, so it gives me a chance to play with it too. A couple of points to note is that some people in Asia and US have reported that some receivers, the pins and things are a lot less stiff. Mine is one of the stiff ones. The bolt carrier is very stiff to get out. It does mean that it's very tight tolerances, and I'm sure that it'll wear in a little bit. I'd rather have that than have a loose one from the box and it becomes sloppy. So we'll address that because we're going to be knocking this pin out to show you, and you'll see it's quite tough to get out at the moment. So with all that aside, here's the VFC FNC gas blowback. These are going out to UK retailers that pre-ordered this week. So people that ordered from a UK retailer will get them later this week. People that ordered from Asia, I should think, will probably start getting them next week as they get shipped. So let's go through some materials. First things first though, it comes with a black Stanag magazine. So yes, these do take regular VFC M4 mags. This is a version 3 black Stanag from VFC. If you have the VMAG, this is a version 3. They also fit and work absolutely fine and very smooth in and out of the magazine well. Let's go over the materials first, shall we? Because I know a lot of people are well into that. We'll start from the muzzle end. So the muzzle is steel. The outer barrel is steel. The sling loop is steel. The handguard heat shield is steel, despite some people saying it's aluminium. The front sight block is aluminium, but the grenade launching gas shutoff is steel. All the pins are steel. The handguard retaining collar is steel. The gas tube is steel. As you can see, the rear trunnion is steel, as is the entire upper, the dust cover, the charging handle, rear sight assembly, selector, pins, magazine release, all steel, trigger steel, trigger guard steel, stock and lower receiver aluminium, as you would expect, and that goes for the entirety of the stock assembly. It's aluminium. It's really nicely machined actually. The retaining bolt for the stock is steel. And we'll switch to this side just so you can see that the rest of that selector is all steel, all aluminium, all steel. It's beautifully done. These are actual welds. The ejector is steel. They've done a fantastic job. They really have. And it's absolutely rock solid. It's incredible. So to release the stock, you press on this button here and you push the stock down that way, and that unlocks the stock and it swings around. Worth noting that that stays in place until you press the button. You have to press that button, push the stock down to fold it back out again, and once it does lock, it's solid. There's the tiniest amount of movement, but like it is solid. As you can see, that lockup point there is pretty beefy. You've got a rear sling loop on the stock here, another one on the top of the stock itself, and then you've got your front sling loop, which is this spinny rightly thing here. I did make a comment in the unboxing video. I called that bayonet lug, but I think everyone got what I meant, so it's all good. There's a rubber sleeve around the edge of the barrel here, and then you've got your handguard releasing piece, which you just it's quite stiff, and then you can release your handguards. Obviously inside your handguards we've got that steel heat shield in, and then the outside is a glass reinforced polymer. These are remarkably more modern material than they used on the FAL handguards, the LAR. So they feel very, very solid indeed. Again, these are a little bit of tension from the spring steel heat shield. You have to make sure you line up with this pin, and then push. This is actually a longer gun than you'd expect. It's pushing everything off the desk on the other end, but you then get that spring steel retainer. Oh, I just have to do this a little bit off camera because I need to put the buttstock down. It can be a bit fiddly. It's a very strong retaining spring, which is great. But it's not a quick release handguard, that's for certain. There we go. Right, so missed the handguard on the right hand side. Very useful. Not. So the build quality is actually, I mean, they're just getting better each time. Honestly, it's superb. It really is superb. They've done a very, very nice job on it, and bring that back on camera for you. There we go. The grenade launch and gas shut-off clicks into place nicely. It's very stiff, very positive. The gas adjuster is very stiff, very positive. It's not slipping around or slopping or anything like that. Charging handle, it's got quite a stiff recoil spring. It's shorter action than the real one. The real one would come back to about here. But they've short stroked it a little bit for efficiency, and it works very, very nicely indeed. Obviously the sprung dust cover does move out of the way of the charging handle, as it should. On this side of the rifle we've got the selector. The selector has the safe, single shot, 3-round burst and full auto settings, and it's quite stiff to move. It doesn't have a super positive stop for each place, but it's noticeable. You're not going to move accidentally past it. Yeah, the hand grip itself, the pistol grip, is basically a felt one. It's a glass fibre. It certainly does the job, and I think you should be able to put the M249 one on there if you wish to as well. So let's get her open. Let's have a look at what we've got here. Again, more stuff falling off the desk. So we take out this pin first. I use that short magazine, gives me a bit more desk space. And the receiver hinges open as you expect it to. Again, it's all quite stiff. Once you've got that rear pin out, the front pin does move a little bit easier. A lot easier actually. So we'll just take the lower receiver off. Don't put my thumb in between the two halves of the receiver because that's quite painful. There we go. So, this is our trigger mechanism housing. Let's get that magnet back in here. Hammer is steel. The trigger spring and trigger spring guide are steel. The disconnect is steel. All of the valve knocker assembly is steel. The cut-off lever is steel. You can see that burst mechanism sitting down the side of what is essentially a fell trigger mechanism. If we release that, they've replicated the shape of the FNC hammer beautifully, which is very nice indeed. That trigger spring is actually quite strong. So yeah, that's the lower. It's a aluminium pressing that's nicely replicated from the real one, with all internals being steel. Nothing to complain at there. You might see some minor peening on the receiver here. It's all that is it's the imprint of the screw I'll show you in a moment on the back of the bolt carrier return buffer. It's just a Phillips head screw, and it just imprints itself on the aluminium block at the back there, but it hasn't affected the metal at all. It's not going to create a weak spot or anything like that. If you do want to stop that from materializing into more of a scratch, then I would recommend just light filing the top of that screw out on the back of the buffer I'll show you in a moment. It's just where the screw sticks out of the buffer very slightly, but won't hurt the gun, but some people might find it a little unsightly. Personally, it's inside the gun, it's going to wear. Here's the offending screw. Try and point with something that isn't my finger there, and you probably can't see on camera, but the very out, it's not even a millimeter, does stick out a little bit, and that's what's peening on the back of the receiver. So to remove the bolt carrier group, you don't really want to pull on this too much. You want to take your charging handle, move it to the rear. Where mine gets stiff is at this point here. If it does get stiff, you just got to be a little bit more forceful with it. This is the second time I've done mine, and this time it actually came out far easier than the first. Hold the dust cover up out the way, grab the charging handle, pull that out, and then grab your bolt carrier, and you can remove your bolt carrier group. Now, obviously this bolt carrier is an alloy or an aluminium, and the gas piston is also aluminium. The return spring is steel, and there's a steel strike face on the back of the bolt carrier. The nozzle is unique, FNC style nozzle. I need to disassemble mine later. I'll probably do a separate video for that one, to put an end pass in it, because these are doing like 1.3, 1.4 joules out of the box in the UK, and it was 22 degrees. So it's probably going to be a bit much. Certainly going to be a bit much. So I'm going to fit an end pass into here later. Or you can flip the stock valve over, and it will reduce your FPS as well. But I need to do a bit of testing on that to ensure. But yeah, nicely made bolt carrier. It's quite light. I'm sure that at some point in the future, people will bring out a weighted piston to add weight to the bolt carrier, but I mean, you don't need to really. To remove the recoil spring, you press in, recoil guide, turn 90 degrees, and that's your recoil assembly out of the rifle. Obviously it's a two-part recoil spring with a very long guide rod, and to reassemble you just again turn that 90 degrees to the bolt carrier, push it in, turn back to its normal orientation, and it goes back in there. So let's put that down for a moment. Very greasy, but not as greasy as some rifles come out of the box, to be fair. Probably just greasy enough. Your hop-up assembly, your hop-up adjuster, should I say, is adjusted through this hole here with the included Allen key in the box. So when the rifle's assembled, I'll show you in a moment, but it goes through where the front pin goes through, and you just turn to adjust your hop there. It comes fitted with the blue hop rubber that's standard on most VFC rifles now. A bit of testing I did the other day, it seemed very stable, although with all VFC rifles I say put a couple of 100 rounds through it, because the hop on the VFC rifles really does stabilise after a few 100 rounds and become incredibly effective. People seem to change them out a little bit too quickly in my opinion, but there we go. So to reassemble the bolt carrier in the gun, again it's a bit stiff to get past that first point on mine. Line up that hole, take your charging handle and reinsert it. Which is a little bit stiff. I got the wrong way up. So as I say, mine is one of the stiffer ones. Some people have found theirs to be a little bit easier to do. Mine is not one of them. But I actually like those tighter tolerances, if I'm honest. I like that it's not wobbling around or anything like that. Some people might complain because they do. Right, why am I finding that so stiff? Right, bear with. Okay, so, there we go. My magnet's stuck to my recoil screw. That's why you shouldn't have your magnet on the table, really. There we go, right. Again, it's no point pushing this in. You've got to take the bolt carrier and just get it past that stiff point. Once it's in its riding area, it's really smooth, but they've made it quite stiff as it comes out of the receiver here. So push the bolt carrier in, take your buffer, make sure it pushes flat against the edge of the receiver, like so. Then we take our lower and we get that back into position. I think the easiest way to do this is actually to again take the magnet off everything. There we go. And tuck those pins back in. That front pin's a little bit stiffer when you do that way, but it does mean you know everything's aligned. And what you do need to ensure is you get that front pin in all the way, because the hop-up adjustment, just trying to see if we can focus you on this, the hop adjustment is through to here, and the Allen key has to be able to go through. So we'll just check that. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, now we're reassembled. And there she goes. And if we take the dry fire switch off the magazine, we can give you a quick look at this cycle. It's got a nice snappy cycle. Put it into burst. Right, I guess. try a different mag. Right, gas. Typical. Right, it's 20 rounder. Out of gas. 30 rounder. I've got plenty of mags here, so this is a grey 30 rounder. Dry fire switch. Of course. So the FNC doesn't lock back on empty. The real one doesn't either. It just drops on an empty chamber like the HK53, the G3, etc, etc. Nice. So you do have to chamber that first round, because it'll, as you heard, it will just drop on an empty chamber. So if we put an empty mag in with a cut-off switch in there, click. And that's because the dry fire switch on the back raises the valve knocker out of line with the striker, and that stops the gun from firing. It just gives you that dead man's click. They've done a nice job of that, to be fair. It's a pretty robust system. So let's try this 20 rounder with the cut-off switch engaged, because I think there is gas in it and I just forgot the cut-off switch. That looks different, like a baby felt. Yeah, that's nice. So that's the overall look of the FNC. We'll give it some time on the range, or out at an event or something. Put some rounds through it, and I'll come back to you with my thoughts on range and stuff. But the build quality of this is insane. Now there are some accessories already released for it, which is amazing. That's well done VFC for actually doing that when they released the gun this time. Probably because they didn't have to concentrate on mags. They've done a top rail, which I've got coming. They've got an M-Lock handguard. I've got one of those coming. Even though I'm not generally modernist with guns like this, but I thought I'd get one anyway. I've done a short barrel kit, which also comes with a different sight block, a steel sight block, which brings your muzzle down to the paratrooper length. And they've done a stock adapter kit as well for those that are really sad. But no, keep this one. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed our look at the FNC. We'll do more videos on this as I've tested it at range, because I don't want to comment on its hopper proficiency and things like that yet, because I want to get some rounds through it. But this is the first look at the FNC, and I hope that those that are getting them this week enjoy them as much as I am. I think it's really nicely put together. The engravings as well, I did comment on it in the unboxing. I'm really impressed with how they've done the engravings this time. So well done to VFC on this one, and we'll get back to you sometime in the future. Thanks again for watching.